So, I have a question. When did you have to start building a brand to find a job? When did a resume stop being enough? I'm sure some of you can relate. You're going through the job search, like me, and your grandpa tells you, just take your resume, bring it into the office, and speak with the hiring manager.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
They need to see you. And it's like, you know what, Grandpa? You are right. They do need to see me, but they need to see me on LinkedIn. They need to be able to search me. They need to be able to know what I stand for. They need to be able to know my last 10 years of experience by the click of a button. When you think of a brand, what do you think about? I know that I think about Nike. I think about Walmart. I think about these big conglomerates that I could go into a store and I could recognize immediately, whether it be based on a logo or a certain color or even a text format. But brands go a little bit deeper than that. All brands now have a personality. When you think of Nike, what do you think of? You think of
Just do it!
you couldn't just say what you were selling, you had to say who you were to sell the item. And so now, in the year of 2026, you are the brand, you are the product. You have probably seen online, like I have, how to create a brand, what types of personal brands there are, what your brand is communicating, how not having a brand is saying something without saying something. Let's take it back to the basics. You have always had to have a reputation in order to get a job. That's just point blank, period. If you were living in a village, people knew who made the bread, who made the clothes, who was true to their word, and who you should never loan money to. Shout out to him. If you want to do more research on him, you can. It's a really interesting story. You didn't have much control over what people thought of you. Then we can go to something that I've already talked about, which is kind of, we can skip way forward, talk about the 1950s and how branding and marketing came to the forefront of consumerism in the United States, specifically about the admin, the madmen. I've talked about this before. Maybe I'll just make a channel that just we can just talk about Mad Men because I could talk about it for days. Advertising became the forefront of consumer culture. If you've seen the show Mad Men, you can probably picture Don Draper in a boardroom explaining and expressing how this person's product is different and here is how we can package it in order for people to understand that. That ideology has basically shaped the idea of a brand that we have today. Now, let's get back to you. Why can't you just bring your resume into an office and speak with the hiring manager and get that job? In 1997, there was a book published called The Brand Is You. At this time, this was a completely revolutionary idea because up until this point, really your brand still was your reputation. It was your reputation and your resume. That was it. Then skip forward a few years, 2003, LinkedIn comes out. All of these social media platforms have reinforced having a professional brand. And typically, when you think of having a professional brand, your professional brand lives on LinkedIn. I know for me personally, shameless plug, that is where I spend most of my time trying to develop my personal brand. So I don't want to go too deep into him or his lore. We can also thank Gary Vee for part of this. If you are on the internet at all, which you are because you're watching this video, you know who Gary Vee is. He's the guy who sells wine and like shoes and yells at the camera a lot.
I would create a LinkedIn account, make content on LinkedIn about whatever I do, landscaping, barber, electrician, SaaS salesman.
But he's yelling about the fact that you need to post more often because people need to know who you are in order to care about what you're selling. Now in the 2020s, it is expected of you to have a LinkedIn page. Your LinkedIn page is saying something about you. I had an interview today, actually, where someone said, I looked at your LinkedIn page. And I had another instance where I went to an in person networking event and somebody came up and was like, Hey, do you know Miranda? And they were like, No, but I see her online a lot. Hi, nice to meet you. And that's when I realized how important it is to have a presence online. It was great that I actually got to meet that person in person, but the fact that they knew me from the internet already is a plus. So I've been enjoying creating a personal brand. It's just made me think about how it's made the job market a little more complicated. It adds an additional layer of complexity for people who may not be or may not feel like they're wired to be influencers. It is not natural. It's not natural for me to sit here and talk to a camera in an empty room. It's not. I did it at my last job whenever I had to create certain trainings here and there. I didn't do a lot of that, let me be clear, but it was not natural for me. I am curious though, with the rise of AI, how professional branding is going to change, because something that I've seen, which is interesting, is I'm seeing a lot of repetition on LinkedIn. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a lot of social media. People repeat what is successful, um, because that's what you do. You feed into the algorithm. But because I've been seeing this repetition with AI, that's creating not only the language in the post, but the graphics themselves. I was victim to this. I'm going to be honest. I created one graphic for LinkedIn with AI. Okay, I'm going to admit it. I'm not proud of it. And I thought it was so cute. I thought it was so cute, so unique. I loved the colors. I thought that the colors were, they stood out and they could eventually be associated with my professional brand. I was scrolling the other day and I saw 3 HR professionals post the same graphic. Now, it said different things. The topic was completely different because I wanted to talk about something specific. I already knew what I wanted to talk about. I knew what I wanted to say. I just didn't know how to do all the Canva stuff really well, which I'm learning now. Because if we're all using AI for a professional brand, none of it is a brand anymore. Now it's just slop. Now we're just repeating what the other person is doing, and it's not recognizable anymore. The interesting thing is I see it across different industries. So it's not just in HR, I'll see it in marketing, but the marketing the marketing AI stuff that I see repeated is different than the HR stuff. So ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is that you're using, it's not unique. If you're using it to build a professional brand, I don't recommend it because I'm switching my stuff up. Okay. I'm not an expert on branding. All of this is new to me. And I'm not sure if that added complexity is fair or not, or if it's just another thing to adapt to. When I think about it, even though I am someone who it's not natural for me to just post myself on the internet, constantly talk about myself, my achievement, or even post things about, my previous team that I worked with, it has challenged me to step out of my comfort zone. Another transferable skill, which LinkedIn loves to talk about. Let me tell you how. Let me tell you how buying cat food today has helped me with my SEO skills. Like, it's insane. If you know, you know, I'll like pop some stuff up around here. The professional world is going to continue to grow and to expand, and we're going to be expected to do more and more things in order to stay competitive in the market. My main question is, should everyone have to have a personal brand to be competitive in the job market? Should every accountant, teacher, HR professional, shameless plug, if you're looking for an HR person, hi, I'm Miranda. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn right here. Moving forward, HR professional have to have a LinkedIn page and a recognizable personal brand. I really don't know. I don't know. And the truth of the matter is, whether or not it should be, it is right now. But it's really fascinating. I think the reason why I'm asking all these questions is because I've really struggled to remove the idea that I'm a product versus my professional brand is just an extension of who I am. Because if I'm constantly putting on a facade in my brand, if I go to an interview, they're going to be able to tell. They're going to be like, wait, I thought you said, I thought that you said you, I thought that you, we have all been in this mindset, or at least if you're like me, I'm a zillennial, or maybe I'm just a millennial and I don't want to admit it because I'm going to feel old. But I'm right on the cusp there. We were told that getting into a trade, understanding that skill, understanding that industry or the chosen industry that you want to work in is what is going to get you a job. We didn't study marketing. Well, some of us did, but I didn't. Let's end this with this question. Do you think it's right that you have to have a professional brand in order to find a job and be competitive in the market? Or do you think grandpa's right? We should go back to being able to just bring your printed resume into the office and say, hey, can I speak to the hiring manager? Thank you for watching. If you want to learn more about the history of work, where we were before, where we are now, and where we're going, subscribe and like and do all of those things so that you can stay connected with me. And follow me on LinkedIn. That works too. I need a job.